Yay, another talking video, because that's what I do best. I fucking talk and never shut up. Uh, um, so welcome to my, art tip video. I don't really know what to call this video. I've seen a few people do this before, but I never really had the, courage and the time to do it myself. But, it's summer break, and I finally have, the wits to actually do this shit. Uh, But yeah, take all this for a grain of salt, especially with the disclaimers in the beginning of the video. Please. And also take this quality with a grain of salt too. I'm a person with only 600 subscribers. Okay, my quality isn't the best, but it's better than most. Well, as in most, I mean most people with like 3 fucking subscribers. Just take everything I say with a grain of salt, okay? I am not an expert. I've only been doing this whole digital shit since 2020 for COVID purposes because I was bored. But listen, I just deal with like. You get the fucking point. Let's just move on. I'm also going to be making a full piece using these tips because, I do this every single time I fucking draw a full-on piece. So, but yeah, I'll be using the 2 characters you see on the screen right now, which, yes, are alternate universes versions of 2 YouTubers, both of which being my favorites. If you know what Storytime animators are from 2018, then you'll very much know who these 2 are. I'm not explaining anything else, so let's just get to the fucking tips. So, starting off with your usual sketching, I tend to do sketching in different ways on how I feel. I'm gonna be using, a quad and a biped, example here, because I always do. So, I tend to, draw like a stick figure-wise sort of thing, and sometimes I tend to do, like, the sketches, like, with, circular heads, or do, the actual heads I, normally use, and then just, do the sketch. And also sometimes I like to add circles within the body when I do animals, so I can, get the, I guess, gutty part of an animal. The gutty part. Where the tits and ass would normally be, okay? The tits and ass of an animal. You get the point. Fuck me. As I attempt to chase my own fucking child outside because she won't get inside the house and she keeps barking. Anyways, so here's what the sketching process looks like. Like I said, I'll be, making a full art piece with, the 2 characters I just shown already. This is a sketch I did, and I used the first method for this piece. So, their heads kind of look like shit, but it's okay. They'll get better, trust me. Next is how I draw everything. The line art process and how I draw things. So, first we're gonna be talking about the head. Yes, I use fucking circle tool because fuck you. I can't draw heads digitally, but somehow I can draw them traditionally. I learned this recently. It's weird. I also attempted to, give, my OC a bit of a chin, and, we're just not gonna talk about that. There's a reason why I use circle tool, because I'm too terrified to develop an actual head style, because they'll end up looking like those cursed bendy fangirls and anime fans with little to no drawing experience. I'm not trying to offend anyone with that certain style. I just, it's not the style I want. Next is the part that's probably, most needed. The neck and the shoulder. This is probably also the part that looks the most realistic. And They actually have two different looks. One has a sharper look and the other one has, a more smoother look, which I tend to use more in my pieces. I don't know, I just, like the way it looks. I tried to not make the neck look like a giraffe neck like I used to. I don't remember if they showed in any of my videos, but I remember I would make my necks long and, all that shit. It wasn't a great sight, let's just say that. Oh yeah, and you can't talk about necks without talking about the floofiest neck of all time. The animal necks. Now, I use this for basically every single quadruped animal you could think of that, goes on all fours. I also use, it for bunny rabbits and stuff. But, it's a little different. It doesn't have the extra line on the back area. But, yeah, animal neck, furry, yeah. Next is the actual bodies. I tend to just draw 2 lines and call it a day. I know that's not how they normally are, but, does it look like I have the time to learn how to draw fucking hips? Like actual curvy ass fucking hips that don't fucking lie? No, I don't have the time for that. Nobody has the time for that. Except very dedicated and realistic and actually good artists, unlike me. Which is why I say use my art tip for a grain of salt. With, not even a grain of salt, probably just a whole jar at this point. But, for the females, I just give them breasts. Watch, somebody's gonna take this fucking clip and then put that stupid ass fucking meme song that just talks about boobs, from Shorts. If you know. Stop staring at my boob! And here is the same exact thing, but, with the belly button, and also, boys have nipples. Girls have nipples too, but I would rather not get demonetized. Even though wait, what? My channel isn't even monetized. What fucking ever? I watch too many YouTubers do this shit. It's fine, And then we have my terrible example of drawing, I call it pecs, but I don't really know what it's actually called, belly muscles? Belly muscles. Breast muscles? No. No, it's not what it's, no. Whatever, muscles that most people seem to not have nowadays because they're stuck in a chair on Discord, or eating Doritos or whatever the fuck they're doing. I don't know, just go outside for once, while you watch this art tip video. It's just a nice tip. I tend to go outside sometimes, why don't you? And this is not for hating. This is an actual tip. Go outside instead of telling furries to go outside. If you're a furry hater watching this, it'd be very much appreciated. And here's the animal body. Now it would make more sense if it had the neck, but sometimes having no neck is better than having a giraffe neck. Also just realized there's 2 people randomly outside. Anyways, so, oval, kinda looks like an animal. I honestly didn't really try here, but at the same time it looks like how I normally do it, so, it's fine. Next we have the arms. The arms, I know they kinda look like they're in that frickin' Adventure Time style, but they're not. They're not squiggly. They're not Jake arms. Their arms. The only, part, let's be honest, whenever I draw, straight on arms, I ignore the whole draw the elbow shtick because, who has the time to draw elbows? But for these 2 examples, I actually draw elbows because they're necessary. Oh yeah, and these arms don't connect to any shoulders, they connect the walls. This is probably the worst art video to ever be conceived. Anyways, this one I just tend to gain from a lot of references and looking at a lot of animals. Well, dogs, because we own dogs. But, for this I tend to, just... In a nutshell, it's basically the back limb of an animal, but skinnier. And without the ass part of it. Or the knee, whatever the fuck you call that part. What is that thing, that large ass part of her leg that like connects to the smaller part and is like, near the bum? I'll show you what I'm talking about in a bit, but we have this, and the only reason why it looks weird is because there's no paws. So, speaking of which, we have something similar. We have the hands. So, beforehand, I tend to originally draw hands as in circles because I didn't want to try. I was too scared to draw hands in the first place. And I recently made the change to actually just use block-like hands. I don't remember when I decided to make this change. I think it was just because I wanted to, stop being a fucking wuss. So I actually did, and then I attempted to draw a realistic hand. It actually doesn't look as bad as I thought it was going to, but the thumb is too big, and it just looks really unproportionate. So, I'm going to stick to my usual, my usual, Lego-looking ass hands. They don't look like Lego hands, I don't know what I'm talking about. Next are the legs, but let's be honest. The legs are basically a similar situation to the arms, but much more complicated. Like, the arms, you just move around, they hold shit and do whatever, but the legs you need to place down, you need to make them look right with the rest of the, the character. If your character's sitting, you need to make them look like they're sitting their ass down or whatever position on the legs or something like that, like what I'm doing for the, the leg pose on the left. Or they're just laying. You have to make them look right, and sometimes it's really difficult. In certain cases, the arms are more difficult to handle, but other times it's the legs. It's not my favorite thing. In fact, I honestly think that my least favorite thing to do, like besides like hands, out of all honesty, is probably, proportioning the arms and the legs. They're really difficult for me. Like, the rest is fine. Like, the shading is fine for me, which we'll get to later. The coloring is absolutely fun, which we'll get to later. And, all the other stuff. That's fine. But drawing the arms and the legs and the hands, fuck that shit. And here's the quadruped legs. So, like, you see that top thing? The thing that looks like a weird-ass teapot just got bit out of it on top of the skinny part. What is that supposed to be? Is that like a flap or something? Like, what is this? What is this? Either way, I always incorporate it because every single, like, quadrupeded animal has this bullshit. I don't know what it is, but they all have it, so therefore I include it. Please, somebody tell me in the comments what the fuck this is. So I made the thing, in the back area that, curves curvy instead of the way the front arm does it. Or front leg is the front leg, oh my god. Because I didn't really know what to do at this point. I was kind of tired, and also I thought it just looked better. So, take it as you will. Next is my favorite part. Yay! No, it's not. I honestly really don't like feet in general. Like, drawing feet currently is fine, but like, just the whole entire the thought of it looking at feet just grosses me out. I don't like feet. It's gross. But yeah, just like the hands, I originally just did like oval looking ass things. And I did like the recent change of, into like looking like a paw-esque thing. Only because I've done way too many fucking bases in my life, let's be honest. Everybody has used a base at least once or twice, but I've done it way too many times to the point where it's a habit. I'm trying to break it, and it's working, but other parts it's not. Just give me the benefit of the fucking please. Also, I tried to draw a realistic foot. It looks a lot better than I thought it would, and I hate that fact. I hate it. I hate this realistic looking foot. I absolutely hate it with all my life. It's so weird. Why did I decide to draw this? Oh yeah, and here's the paw. Yeah, I didn't really think to draw the paw pad section, which I probably should have, but I never did. So you just get this instead, and yeah, it's basically, you know, an animal version of a barefoot. Like I said, I don't want to draw feet. So if a human's gonna become a furry on the feet end, a person's gonna become a fucking furry. Let's just admit it. You'll never escape it. No one will. You'll always become a furry one day. You always will. I'm fully aware this line art part is taking forever, but trust me, we're almost there. We're almost past this point. So we're at the tails. I just realized the bunny text overlaps the fucking art itself. That is terrible. Anyways, so we have a section of tails I normally use. The bunny can just be more than a bunny tail. It could be like a bear tail or something. We have, you know, this random tail. I call it the random tail because it could be like anything. It could be a bird's tail. It could be a dog tail. It can literally be anything. And we have 2 cattails. But honestly, the first cattail could also be pretty much anything. It could be like a tanuki or one of those red pandas. It could also be just pretty much anything, let's be honest. And then we have our second group of tails. So we have a demon tail, which that triangular arrow-shaped part can literally be shaped into anything, but I just did that because, you know, a specific type of character actually has that tail, and, you know, you've already seen him in this video once. And we also have another bird tail, but it could also be a fish tail or whatever. I just sort of gave up on that part, but, you know, I just wanted to make an example of that. And then we have a ponytail. What do you know? Is it for your head or for your bum? Equestria girls, am I right? No. As I'm recording this, the neighbors are outside their yard, which is very close to, you know, our area, and there's this door connected to our kitchen, a see-through, so they might see and hear this chaos. But I'm just going to try to ignore that, you know, just let the neighbors do their thing. Anyways, horns. These horns are only really necessary for, like, unicorns. Like I said, we have the traditional curvy horn that a lot of, My Little Pony redesign people tend to do for some reason. We have, you know, your traditional My Little Pony horn I tend to like to draw a lot. So yeah, this part is just fairly short. Next we have the ears. So, you know, for the ears, this is just fairly short. I could have made a bunny ear for this, but I didn't want to. You could always just, you know, turn the dog ear, like, you know, just flip the, you know, dog ear across the x-axis and, you know, add some inner ear in it. But I didn't. Let's just, you know, it's dog ear, 2 random ears for different animals like wolves, cats, foxes, whatever, and an attempted human ear. This is the reason why I don't draw ears on my human characters. They just look bad. And also when I try to interpret them into, you know, my drawings, they look like monkeys, and that's not what I want them to look like. I don't want them to be monkeys. Next, we have the noses. So yeah, we basically have the old nose, which I used a lot during my old times. Just a curvy-ass nose. I don't know why I did this. Maybe it's because I watched a lot of cartoons with this nose, but I don't like it. It looked, you know, unappealing. No thanks. And then the current nose, which I use, is just basically a line. You know how have some animes just have like that line that's like closer eye that represents where, you know, the curving, not the curving, but you know, look, the area between the eyes that, you know, goes straight into a triangle form before it goes back to connect the face. That's what that is. But yeah, I hardly ever use this because I never find good opportunities to use it. And I don't want to use it anyways. Then we have the the big ass circular nose, which yeah, I only use this for the Mario Brothers. Mario, Luigi, you know them. I also drew a Wario nose and a Waluigi nose before. I'm really proud of them. But I didn't add those. I also draw like the Squidward nose and drew the Squidward nose for like the older Baldies and, you know, AU Baldies. Not my Baldi, of course, but that one's not here either. Just because I didn't think to include that one at the time, even though my fucking channel name is Baldi Bronze. Well, whatever. And we have the two animal noses because, of course, we need the animal forms. We have, you know, the usual triangular animal nose. And I did want, like, a heart shape. I only tend to use the heart shape for, like, Happy Tree Friends characters or Care Bears. Or Care Bear Cousins. You know, your usual shtick, but I still have it just in case. I know it looks badly drawn, but doesn't everything at this point. And now we have the mouths. You know, your usual classic mouths that honestly kind of differentiate the style of it. I also just realized I forgot the eyes. I completely forgot a body part. Well, let's just pretend they don't exist. And besides, the eyes are basically just, you know, Twilight Sparkle's eyes, but without the, you know, the top corner. That's just basically what they are. And, you know, the pupils are just, you know, circular, oval shaped. It really isn't anything much, and the eyelashes, you know, just triangles. Nothing much to it. You'll see them in, you know, the work piece I'm using, like, for this. But anyways, we have the first set of mouths, which, you know, usual mouths. Then we have the second one, which, you know, has the extra fang, which I like to call the Baldi mouth. Because, I think Baldi is really the only, like, character of the Fang I have that doesn't, you know, have it exposed in any sort of way, like, outside of, you know, being inside of the mouth. So yeah, I like to call this the Baldi mouth, and I probably would have colored the inside of the mouth like the pinkish tint that his mouth usually is compared to the others. Because that's right. The color for Baldi's mouth is different from the other humans because he isn't human. And we have this one, which is, you know, your usual mouth with the fang, where it's completely exposed. Although I don't do this all the time. I only tend to do it, you know, at the top closed mouths, but, you know, they can occur on certain characters. I just don't really know which ones, but they can occur. But yeah, I'm really obsessed with the bottom left one and the other one with the human mouth with the sticking tongue. I don't know why, I'm really obsessed with those. They're adorable. They're just adorbeaties. Finally, moving away from the body parts, we have the last example. And before you ask, no, clothing will not be used here. That's your decision. You can do whatever the fuck you want with clothing. It's not my justice. And you can also do whatever you want with the hair. This is just how I, you know, deal with back and front hair, like you see here. So we have the normal hair, which, you know, it's just a hairdo on the head. Nothing to see here. Though in the bottom is, you know, it covers the eyes. And I think the only character of mine that actually has this is Johnny from the Baldi and Friends lore, aka, you know, the Baldi's Basics kid that, you know, owns this shop and, like, Baldi's Basics Plus. You know, that kid, does anybody even remember that kid? I do, and I love him. He's underrated as hell, and I adore the shit out of him. Anyways, I don't think that's his exact hair, but I just do whatever. And then, you know, the actual hair tuft, which, you know, is kind of iconic with a few certain characters, like a lot of my Wilted Rose characters. the character in the piece you're about to see again in a bit, aka Adam, something else YT, yippee. And then the character I attempted to do the hair tucked up is actually Maxwell's, aka Baldy's adopted son. But yeah, that's how you basically attempt this. Like, just draw the hair and shit and make it work. Make it work, do it right, and don't die. And now we have the back hairs. Basically, like, I would draw the torso and shit, but I didn't. Basically, just draw whatever hair you have, like, behind the head and behind the torso and shit. But, here's some hair examples. I attempted to, draw these based on, like, hair size of actual characters. Like, the top left one is supposed to be Henry's. The top right, I think, is supposed to be old May's. Either that is current May's. I know it's some sort of May that inspired this. The bottom left is somebody with short hair. I don't remember who. It might have been Jonas, out of all things. But it was somebody. And then the bottom right might be a little more obvious due to the curl in it, but it's actually Reggie. It's not Jaden, it's Reggie. It's Reginald, bitch. About time we finished the line art piece. So, here's the current line art I'm using for this. We have all the details and stuff I mentioned, like the arms and how it curves. We have different mouths, even though they're basically the same, just one has a fang. I have an itch on my arm for some reason. Is there a bug on it? No, it's just a random itch. We have the I was about to mention the next, but both of them are covered by their own clothing. We have the horns, which I probably should have included, side horns for this, but I never thought to do so. But I mean, his horns technically also function like ears, so it could work either way. You got the tail, you got everything you need. You also got the hair as well, and the hair tuft. Hair tufts are a little more complicated to work on back views, but I think I worked it out pretty finally for Adam here. So yeah, let's move on to the next part, which is shading. So this part will just, cover the different types of, shading I do. Sometimes I do all the shading, but, here's the first one, which is, I named these because I didn't really know, what to call these, like, if they had actual names, I just, nicknamed these. So this one I call the corner shade. Where you just find the parts that would most likely be shaded, and you define them a little, I guess. You do whatever. And yeah, it's the non-blended version, and they have two different versions. Also, quick thing. You can leave your shading and lighting black and white. You can absolutely do that if you have a certain feeling you're going for. You can absolutely do that. But most of the time all the time I tend to use colored shading because, it works better in the environment. I think the environment, in the real world will probably look a lot, less colorful and a lot more dull if everything was just shaded black and white. So keep that in mind. I learned this from a user back on an app known as Branch. Only my OGs only know about it nowadays. Somebody had told me, maybe you should color in your shading, and I've done it ever since. So that's a note to keep in mind. But I also called this the non-blend because I didn't blend it in, aka like blur it, I guess. Like you always see in my let me just show you. This it's the blending. But yeah, this is still the corner shading. Now, I almost never use this method. Not almost never use, but I sometimes will use this method, but not all the time. Just because I feel like it's, too overly complicated in certain points, but I will use it for, certain types of art. I don't use it for the, full piece that you saw with the line art and the sketch and shit. But, I will use it sometimes. And sometimes I will use it with the next shading I will show you. Like, them both. For this one, I didn't show a colorless because not colorless, a blendingless one. Or non-blend, it's non-blend. For this one, because, you actually use the line art for this one. This is why I call it the line shade. Sorry, dog's trying to act like a nuisance. Anyways, I like to duplicate the line art, and then use the paint bucket tool, use black, and then, just, tap on the line art as many times as you need, and then you blend it. That's my main way of shading. I know it's extremely fucking lazy, but I like to do it. Most of the time I tend to do it like, one blend or two blends. But it always depends, and it always looks similar to this. And like I said, I will use this with the whatever blend I just said before, with this one. I can't believe I forgot. This is such a terrible video. This is the lighting, which is kind of just the inverted version of the line shade. But do I really need to explain this one? Probably not. And I always tend to do this one whenever I can. I like to shade and brighten the eyes separate ways. Not ways, but like in a different way than, the rest of the body, because, it's unique. This is my most common method, where I just have the darker part of the eye overlap, the hair, and not overlap, but, go under the hair, like where the line of the hair is, and trace that. And then the lighting part, is just under it. Your usual. The black and white and colored, your usual. So there's that for that section, except I realized I forgot another part. There's this other part where it's texturing, where you basically texture your areas. Like, parts there's fur, you add use a fur brush. There's parts where there's hair, where you can definitely see on Jaden's hair. You just grab a hairbrush and use that. And then for any clothing parts, you just find, something that looks like a texture, those, images on Abyss Paint. Just use one of those, use that. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. But I forgot to, I had the frame, but I forgot to, actually save it before I finished, but whoopsie! Anyways, here's this piece. Beautiful, lovely, carry on. You also may realize that this audio, changed. It's because I'm in my living room and my phone was about to die on me, so that's why. And yeah, we get to the coloring stage where I use the paint bucket tool. I should probably stop using it because, there's certain parts of the canvas that just, hidden corners that turn white, and I don't like it. But, I still use that tool. Also, for those of you who are trying to guess who the fuck this character was, if you got Rainbow Dash, I'd be surprised. The only reason why I used Rainbow Dash for this is two reasons. One, I think the colors would make a good example for the shading part. And two, I was listening to the fanfic reading of Rainbow Factory while I was doing this. So, the irony is real. The irony is real. I can't voice RD. I'm supposed to be an RD voice. No. Anyways, as you can see, different kinds of shading bring out two different kinds of effects. Like, the top left brings out, some sort of, I guess it looks like she's in Silent Ponyville. And the bottom right, it's just her usual colorful self. I also did another part too that was not necessary though. Look at this. I added some outlines, or at least colored outlines. I tend to do colored outlines for my finished pieces, although Not like the way I did here. Normally, I would take, the colored bits and fuse it with the shaded bits. I would take, then I would fuse those and I would duplicate that layer and I would blur that, make it overlap with the lines, and then before I fuse it with that, I take another one and, fuse it, not fuse it, but cover the lines with, the shading, color I did. Then I, set the capacity to whichever I feel is best. I normally do 50, and then I add another layer and, just do finishing touches on the outlines, like I did with RD's eyes on the, additional colored outlines, and then I, fuse all that, and bam. But you'll see I actually did that, within, this next bit, but I thought I'd just, reveal this to you, just because, why not? And here are their colored versions in their absolute glory. Now, I actually forgot that I did 2 parts, one without the colored outlines and one with. So, I guess I'll just transition to them. So here's them without the colored outlines, which I honestly think they look cool even with this. It makes them look like they're on a comic book cover or something. And then there's them with the colored outlines. Not much of a change, but I think, it goes a long way for certain pieces like the one I'm doing. And I really like this. And one last thing I forgot to mention, which is backgrounds. Backgrounds, just do whatever the fuck you want. Add, shapes behind them, do a solid color, add an actual picture, make an actual picture, with a, forest or something. Do whatever the fuck you want. It's a background. I don't have too much tips on this one because, I'm not experienced, unlike, characters and stuff. I'm not, a scenery type of person. I'm a character type of person. And speaking of backgrounds, here's a background I added. Just to finish off the piece, we have Adam and Jaden doing their own, dramatic pose. I'm starting to realize how long Jaden's arms actually are compared to her body, but we're not just going to talk about that. Ignore the fact that she looks like a daddy long-legged spider frickin' thing. Let's just ignore that. And instead, look at this beautiful piece of work. Absolutely stunning. And here's another thing I forgot to mention. For a lot of these, you probably should, add signatures to your art. I don't, but, I remember I used to a lot back then. It's a better way to get your art not stolen, just do that. But anyways, we have the finished piece. We have Something Else YT and Jane Animations in my own AU known as Drag as a Warriors Reborn. The Reborn part is, there for lore reasons. There was another one called Drag as a Warriors without anything else, but shush, that's not what this is. But yeah. Those are my art tips and tricks on how to be like me and how to suffer like me. No. But yeah, just do whatever, I guess. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this will help you in a certain way. It probably won't, but I hope it will. Subscribe if you want to. You really don't have to. Do whatever, comment, whatever the fuck, share this with your friends so they could suffer with you. But, yeah, I guess, bye.